What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Monologues, and welcome to Week of Cryptic, the week-long MonoCRYPTIC special event. Now, funnily enough, I used to start off each monologue by saying it was a podcast that was like 30 minutes or something like that. I've decided to change that, primarily just because I feel like it's too strict, kind of stringent. I feel like healthy conversation ends when it needs to end, so all the episodes in which I would say, hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's MonoCRYPTIC, and this is Monologues. It's gonna take 30 minutes out of your day. They weren't even 30 minutes. Like, they were like 25 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure one was sub 20. I could be wrong on that. But the point is, no real reason to keep it at 30 minutes, so instead monologues from this point forward are just gonna be however long they have to be. This episode in particular is kind of a weird one because it's sort of like I'm recording it while so many different things are kind of going on in my life, so I'm not even sure where to start. I think the first thing I would like to get out of the way just from the get-go is just like Week of Cryptic in general. I know a lot of you guys are new to the channel, you haven't been here for a long time. Week of Cryptic is something that I've done before. I've done it once before, and that was for Monster Hunter Rise. Be sure to check that out if you feel so inclined. But it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I guess at the time when I made it, it was something I wanted to, the first one, it was something I wanted to do for a long time. That monologues that coincided with that Week of Cryptic, that one is wholly dedicated to breaking down Week of Cryptic and, you know, why I'm so into entertainment the way I am. And this one is kind of going to be something different. It's kind of going to be building off of that. So if you want to, you know, understand some of the context behind what I am kind of going to be discussing in this episode, go check that out. If not, oh well, yeah, who cares, right? Who really cares? The first thing that I really wanted to do with this Week of Cryptic was nail down the process. If you go back on my channel, you can see that halfway through the first Week of Cryptic, the event ended. It got postponed, so it actually didn't end that week, but instead like 2 or 3 weeks later. And there are a bunch of reasons for that. I made a whole video talking about that, but it was a major bummer when it happened because I had put so much time into developing this idea and making sure that it was something cohesive, right? That I could present people this cool little thing and we can all have fun with it, and it'll just be like a week of goofs and gaffes and whatnot. But, you know, it didn't turn out that way. And so for a very long time, I actually considered that Week of Cryptic like a colossal failure. It wasn't until I started working on this one, I realized that really wasn't the case. And I'll go into that. I'll delve into that later. But the first thing that came to my mind when I, you know, finally decided we hit 1K, let's do another Week of Cryptic, was I have to nail down this process. I think you're going to come to recognize over the course of the week how intricately put together all of this is. You know what I mean? It's not really something that you can wake up one day and just do. At this point in time, I have been working on this event for like a week straight, basically. And I'm like, fine, I'm having a fun time doing it. Like, I love doing this. It allows me to challenge myself and express myself. So it's like a win-win for me, and a win for you guys because you get a bunch of cool content to dig into. But that was like sort of like one of the biggest things with me was, you know, it's not something that you can just do in a week. It's not something you can just do in 2 weeks. Well, I guess I'm kind of doing it in a week now, but I have the experience to like back it up. So plus a lot of the assets that I'm using for this Week of Cryptic, I already made with the first one. So still I definitely wouldn't have been able to do this in a week. On top of that, I got some help in certain areas. So again, I really couldn't have done this in a week. And that's kind of what ruined the first Week of Cryptic is I got to a point where not halfway through, but I think like the week or maybe a week and a half before the actual event, I caught a cold, right? And I was working on that decryption episode. It was like the first like quote unquote 1 hour special I ever tried to produce. So it required a lot of like deliberation from myself. And it just ultimately just like fell apart entirely, you know. There were a lot of personal things that happened at the time that, you know, didn't have anything to do with the channel or me getting sick that also messed with my headspace during the first Week of Cryptic. But yeah, it was just a total mess. Like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And again, that left me really bummed, but it was also good because I learned so much from the process, you know. I think the first thing that really set this Week of Cryptic up for success was me taking the time out of my day to plan it, to make sure that everything that I wanted to do was something that I could accomplish in a reasonable amount of time, but was also, you know, reflective of something that was already in my repertoire. what's so cool about Week of Cryptic, like for myself personally, is sort of like all the work that goes into it. The way I go about YouTube is I kind of treat each individual video as like an opportunity for me to try out something new and sort of like expand my skill set and deepen my understanding of how to make entertainment. And then I treat like these bigger events like Week of Cryptic or whatever else I may come up with. Like, you know, also I do like some debates, live debates sometimes too. Whenever I do an event like that, that's sort of like a personal test. Now that you've done all of this new stuff and you're smaller, like, you know, more standalone content, how can you bring that all together and then make a very, like, you know, very well put together event that everyone can get something out of? Not just you, right? Not just me. I mean, I should say not just me, not you, but not just me, right? But each and every single person who's going to watch the event. And so that's why this one I feel like was so well put together, is because I went into it with like a level of focus where I was like, I'm going to do something, you know? And that's really all I can say. It's just, I'm going to do something. I decided that early on from the jump, and I can say I've been doing it, you know. The event isn't over as I'm recording this. I actually just finished, you know, compiling and making all of the assets for the Mono Live episode that's going to coincide with this Week of Cryptic. That is fire. I'm really excited for you guys to see that. It looks so good. It's so well put together. I cannot wait for you guys to see that. But I just think about, like, as I'm recording this, how much I have finished and how little I have left to do. And it just makes me so excited. Like, I think the first thing that I decided I was going to do differently with this Week of Cryptic was, instead of making all of these smaller assets, doing all of the tinier things first, I'm saving that for last. So to start out this entire process, I started working on the Black Knight video. Believe it or not, the Black Knight video is actually something that has been sitting in the oven for about a year. I started the script like June of last year, I think, and I only just now finished it because of the event and, you know, all the Sonic content and everything like that. I remember in June, I sort of, like, you know, looked at my sub count and I was like, I want to hit 1K, you know, we should try to hit 1K. And I was so lucky because at the time, Sonic news started coming out and I'm already a big fan. So it was like, I really wasn't like going too far out of my way to hit 1K. I didn't have to do too many things. It was more so like, okay, let me just ride this wave. And then once I'm finished riding the wave, I can start working on my Black Knight video. And that could sort of be the thing to cap off this big 1,000 subscriber milestone. And I'm really glad that I waited until now to produce the Black Knight video, because if I were to have done it like a year ago when I initially started working on it, I don't think it would have turned out as well as it has now. I think this video, it's the first time within my entire, like, I guess career, I would say, my entire entertainment career, that I've been able to produce something exactly in the way that I wanted, you know? Well, not exactly, but for the most part, it's in line with my original vision, like pretty consistently. And there are some moments where I, you know, sort of improvise and add in new things. Like, obviously I do that with all my videos though. So it's like a thing where if all of the base stuff that I initially wrote in like the script, if a majority of that is kept in and then it works once I'm actually executing it, that's an insurmountable W. You know what I mean? That's a big dub. And like, I remember the first time I watched that video after I had like finished editing it and stuff like that, I was like, this is a work of art. You know, this isn't just a YouTube video anymore. I really did something with this. But I think what surprised me the most was that once I was done with it, I was done with it. Usually there's like a period after I make something where I'm just like ruminating in it and I'm just like, oh my God, this isn't that good, blah, 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 you know. But this time I was like, you know, it's over, it's done. I trust myself. It was a pretty good video. And then I just went on to the next thing. And it surprised me how easily everything came for me on the next step. So the next biggest thing after that decryption episode was the Mono Live stuff. And that took me like, I think 3 days to really make all this stuff for that. And that was a wild experience. That was probably my first legitimate time tackling After Effects. I've like wanted to use the program for so long, right? But I never like understood it. each time I would open the app, I would sit there, I would look at the interface, I would look at the UI, and I would try and like, connect the dots and figure out what everything did and how everything operated and whatnot. But like for the life of me, I just swore I couldn't. And then I got to a point where I was just like, fuck it. I can't use After Effects. I will do my best with Premiere and Illustrator and Photoshop. And if I need anything super intricate, I could consider paying someone to do it, or I can ask a friend, or, anything like that. But for some reason, this time I just gave it a shot. Well, I know why. It's not really something you can put into words, so I'm not even gonna try and attempt to even do that. But it was really crazy. It was almost like I went ultra instinct and I was just doing stuff, bro. Just, like smashing the keyboard, clicking that mouse. And it all turned out really well. And again, what was the most crazy about it was, I just trusted myself and my vision, and it turned out like exactly the way that I wanted it to. Now don't get me wrong. It was not easy. None of this was easy. It was a very strenuous and lengthy process. I have to be like focused the entire time that I'm doing this. And it's very easy to lose track of time because video production and all this type of stuff. It's like you have to put hours and hours upon, more hours, just to end up with a final product that's like maybe 30 minutes. Like this whole week of Cryptic, like as a whole, like total, I'm thinking maybe like around like 3 hours max with like this episode, the decryption, and then the mono live. But even then, dude, the 3 hours, like most of that, the bulk of that would come from the mono live, and I'm not going to be sitting on camera for that long. So I don't even think it's going to be like, a really, really big like event. It's going to go by fairly quickly. And once it's over, it's going to be over. So yeah, it's sort of like a thing where it's like, there's so much more that goes into it than just like, you can have a vision and stuff like that. But it's not like just because you know what it is you want to do, you're going to be able to do it. A lot of people know what it is they'd like to accomplish. A lot of people know what they want to do. The only issue is that they have no idea how to properly execute that. And I'm not saying that I do. I don't really think I have a total understanding of what it is I'm doing, but I feel like I'm now reaching the point where I'm beginning to understand what I'm doing. And I'm putting more deliberation behind my work and how I present it to everybody online, as opposed to just sort of throwing things at the wall and seeing what happens. There's a process to it now. I'm developing a very intricate methodology, and I kind of fuck with it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fuck with it. It just makes it so much it just makes it so much more fun and so much more fulfilling. And that sort of leads me into the topic of this monologues, which is chasing your dreams. Honestly, this is an interesting topic because I feel like it's going to probably be one of the most relevant to everybody, but the hardest to really break down and sort of discuss, because everyone has something different that they'd like to do with their lives. I have something that I would like to do with my life, and I can assure you that many of you, and if not many of you, many of other people don't share that same dream with me. A lot of people aren't on the same page with me in that regard. Like what I want to do, I want to do, if that makes any sense. And so I don't think it's a thing that you could just treat as a universal talking point, where you just start yapping and yapping, hoping that people derive some type of, value out of what it is you're saying. You kind of have to sit there and approach it from the perspective of someone else. Then you have to approach it from the perspective of someone else, because again, everyone wants to do something different with their lives. And there's a reason for that. Everyone is unique. Everyone is different. I truly do hold the belief that there is one thing in this world in which you can give to the world, and it's your responsibility to find out what that is. The whole thing with MonoCRYPTIC and this entire brand, like I've said on this channel multiple times, it's more than just a YouTube channel to me. I'm not really doing this I think it's going to be really I do have access to monetization now, so it's going to be very nice for me to get money off of my art and whatnot. But I was doing this long before I was getting paid, and I'm gonna continue doing it regardless of whether or not I do get paid. This is this is me. I can't even quantify it as a passion project or anything like that. This is me. This quite literally is the biggest reason why I wake up in the morning. And it's going to segue and flood into so many different other facets of my life going into the future, just like it already has now. And you just kind of need to find that. I'm not saying that my gift, right, has to be synonymous with yours, because that's not the point. The whole point of this is that you figure out what that is for yourself. Something that I think I've recently come to terms with is just like me being who I am, you know? For the longest time, I just felt so vindicated about everything that I was doing and the way that I was approaching like the people in my life and the events that I would sort of live through and all that type of stuff. Just constant vindication. That's like the only way that I can put it. But then like eventually, right, I kind of got to a point where it just stopped being an issue. And again, I don't really think that this is like what it is I'm talking about. You can't put it into words. You really can't, no matter how hard you try. So I don't think I should, you know, like at this point, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But if not, like, I can't do anything about that. I really can't, like, it's out of my control. So like, instead I'll say this, right? And I think this is honestly probably the best place for me to cap off this episode of Monologues, because I don't really feel a need to extend it any further. What I do with this channel and what I do with the MonoCRYPTIC brand as a whole, that's my freedom. That's how I've liberated myself. That's my release from that vindication. Find your freedom. Don't let anyone define that for you. Don't let anyone find it for you. Define what that means by yourself and then find it by yourself. What you're going to see here this week is me at my best. That doesn't mean it's going to be my best ever, but this is my best right now. This is all I can do right now. And so I want you to pay very close attention to what it is I'm going to do. And then take that in for yourself. Now this event, it's going to be a big Sonic celebration. Like there's a lot of Sonic stuff here. As a matter of fact, I intended that this Decryption episode, this whole Black Knight episode and the whole miniseries as a whole sort of be my own way of celebrating the series 30th. But, and I can't stress this enough, enjoy this just as much for yourself than as you would as a Sonic fan, you know? My mission is not to Sonic the Hedgehog as like a series or a community or whatever. I was not talking about Sonic for a long time. I only came back because they started talking about new, you know, they were releasing new news. There was a new game coming out. It was fucking terrible. It's dog shit. And now I'm kind of on the train out, you know what I'm saying? Until Rangers comes out at least. But like, I want to stress that I'm not like dedicated to Sonic or anything. This is probably going to be the last major Sonic related thing that goes on my channel. That happens on my channel, excluding any random live stream or the Decryption mini-series. My mission is for humanity, which in turn makes it for myself. So enjoy this as a human being. Again, there's a lot of Sonic stuff to derive out of this, and I understand. We love Sonic. Mono, we love Sonic. Sonic is so cool. Sonic is so epic. I get it, guys. Sonic is epic. You're right. You're right. You're not wrong. You're right. But again, you can derive much more from this if you come into it as a human being and not as a Sonic fan. From this moment until the day I die, and I'm not going to be doing YouTube for my entire life, though that's not what I mean to imply when I say that, but from this moment until the day I die, I will only ask one thing of my audience, and that is to listen. I do not want your money. I'm not asking for your money. I am simply asking for you to be present. Please listen to what it is I have to say.